All right, everybody, it's Conscious Me. I'm Brandon Russ. Hope you're doing well. I study charts all the time. I study human behavior. I collect information. I use creativity. I use facts. It's how I use my brain. It's the left and the right brain working back and forth over my pineal gland to help my intuition tell me what the real story is. I think I found something. I think I found something kind of important, actually. Are Donald Trump and Joe Biden star-crossed lovers? Well, there's definitely a combination, and there's different types of partnerships. There's different parts of relationships. There's the karmatic relationship where you're just both put in the same spot, and maybe there's, you got to get through this together, whatever that looks like, right? Maybe that's, Biden and Trump's relationship. But maybe it's soulmates. Maybe it's where I'm going to constantly kind of do things to draw out the best in you and vice versa. And in this case, the worst of each one another. And then, of course, there is the star-crossed lovers part of it. The part where the soulmate, part of it comes in where you just want to, you're destined to help the other person one way or the other, even if it's your own demise. Well, Joe Biden is in a little bit of trouble too, although Donald Trump kind of gets the headlines for some obvious reasons for the sheer gratuitousness of what he did. But Joe Biden is not innocent here, and he hasn't been innocent for a long time. And we're an equal opportunity bullshit caller here, so we're going to go ahead and say that, Biden has been covering up a whole bunch of things. Hunter's laptop notwithstanding, there just seems to be a string of things that he's kind of like, oh, did I forget to tell you that? And by the way, part of the reason why Trump is in so much trouble is because the pro forma that would happen with every other president would be like, hey, you kind of took these documents and we need them back. And then, from Jimmy Carter to George Bush to to Clinton to Obama, they all kind of went like, oh, did I have, okay, here, go ahead, take it. There's never really been any challenge with it. It's the lie that Trump is in trouble with when he was like, I don't have any documents. And they're like, it's right here. And then he goes, oh, well, those were mine. I freed them with my mind. That's why he's in trouble. I know, by the way, he would turn around and say, hey, I know that you have absolutely no clearance whatsoever, and I have classified documents here, and I'm going to go ahead and, you want to see, hey, have you ever heard of a little country called Iran? That's why he's in trouble, everybody. So Joe Biden is in trouble cooperating. Donald Trump is in trouble because he's a liar. Now, let's get to the meat of the conversation here. When you do charts of Synnastry, where you take the two charts and you compare them, where you have an inner wheel and an outer wheel, this is my chance to teach you. What happens is that you line up where the rising sign is. Right? You basically line up the houses and basically show where that planetary force would be from, say, you to me, if that house, when those houses are lined up. I found something really cool when I compared both Trump's chart and Biden's chart. And I'm going to show both of these at the same time. And I want you to have a little bit of a laugh with me. First up, we've got Joe Biden on the inside. And then we have Mr. Trump on the inside. Both are, we have accurate dates. We have accurate dates of time and everything else. Well, Donald Trump right now, and remember how they're talking about Joe Biden's, FBI and, Internal Affairs, Department of Justice. Is Joe Biden's Department of Justice that did this? Well, guess what? Here's a Mars square for you, everybody. So on the inner wheel, on this side right here, with Trump in the upper left-hand corner, Trump's, by the way, his 12th house is his total undoing. He has the power planet of Pluto in it, say that 5 times fast, and then he's got Mars. He's his own worst enemy, everybody, always has been. Well, guess what? The natal chart of Mr. Joe Biden is that he is a square. His Venus is square to his Mars. Kind of interesting, right? Where Donald Trump's Mars is getting shown. And by the way, fourth house not only is about family, but it can be construed as your love of country. So maybe Joe Biden was destined, and again, we're looking at this chart here, with the power of the conjunct of the sun to square his Mars and call him out. Now, I'm not saying Joe Biden is a hero. Calm down. What I'm saying is that his time, his fame, his everything, his primer is that he is going to defend this country. Take that for what it's worth. Because then when we look at the Joe Biden on the inner wheel, Donald Trump kind of loves him a little bit. So you have the fourth and the eighth house, and then you have this other square from the eighth house to the 11th house. Well, Donald Trump is the outside wheel here. Okay? Joe Biden is on the inside. Joe Biden's Mars is in the 11th house. In Scorpio, by the way. Which, by the way, makes him kind of a little nefarious on the surface, because he's going to do things that you have no idea about, but it'll be for his own self-interest. Stop me if you've heard this. And oh, by the way, he will capitalize on the networks that he has. Just taking that Mars placement in Scorpio in the 11th house, that's kind of what it means. It means that he is going to do the things that he needs to do behind the scenes, up to and including beg, steal, and borrow, so that then he can get what he needs, and he's going to utilize a greater network in order to do it, right? It also means that he's going to try and do the right thing. He's going to put forth like a, very utilitarian thought process with Mars in the 11th house, right? To be able to kind of say like, hey, I'm going to fight for the little guy. I'm going to go do that. By the way, it's his entire social political platform could be summarized or at least clip arted right out of Mars in the 11th house for him. Now along comes Donnie, and he has his Venus, his love, his value, his whatever, squaring that Mars in Biden's chart. This is what I'm about to say is going to make a ton of sense. Venus, sitting in the 8th house. Let's just take Venus in the 8th house. The 8th house represents sex, death, money, other people's money, other resources somewhere else. Venus is about the purity of it. Venus is about the idea of like, he can get to what he loves, but he's going to need cooperation. He's going to need external funding. He's going to, need whatever, right? And oh, by the way, it is conjunct with Saturn, which means that his foundation to how Biden is going to see him projection-wise is going to be, this guy doesn't know any better than to try and take other people's money for his own. The 8th house is other people's money. Venus is your own self-identity, your own self-value, your second house. See how mixed up this gets in a hurry? His Venus is square, or I should say, did I really just go there? Is trine to his Venus, or to his Mars, but I'm going to say it here. He's really kind of got this backlog, Biden does, here in the 12th house. By the way, the 12th house is very important when it comes to presidential candidates, I'm finding. And we're gonna have a special and pull that together there. But the trine energy from the Venus to the Mars, from Biden to Trump here, is an incredible amount of jealousy. Trump is trying to undo Biden, like he does everybody, really, in a way. See also his Pluto in the 8th house. And by the way, take a look at this, too. Take a look at where Trump's Pluto lands. It lands in his 8th house. And by the way, if you're going to translate this, Biden with Pluto in the 8th house in Leo, just like Trump, I mean, they're only a few years apart. That's how slow Pluto moves, everybody. It's only a few degrees. But it's sitting in their 8th house. Joe Biden, power base, is other people in negotiation, right? Oh, and Jupiter, he's able to do big things with it. Biden's a good politician, everybody. You don't have to agree with all of his policies, but he's built like a really good negotiator. If he wasn't doing this, he was going to do handshake deals and boardrooms and that sort of thing. But back on Trump's influence into Biden, he's in love with him. He is absolutely in love with him. And by the way, go back over here where Trump is the inner wheel. This Biden's approach on this with Venus square to Mars is he is saying, oh no, you can't put country above other people. You can't, I'm not going to let this be your undoing. I'm going to make this your undoing. Right? So he's forcing the issue with that square. This is just destiny, everybody. And then you see Trump trine Venus to Mars. I'm telling you, 8th to the 12th house, which are intuitive houses, everybody. By the way, all of this is within intuition and within spirituality. The 4th, 8th, and 12th house are the spiritual houses. They are, when I start working with a student to find out whether or not they are capable, how they're built rather, I look at their 4th, 8th, and 12th house. Now, if you don't have anything in your 4th, 8th, and 12th house, don't worry, it's all good. You still have other things to pull off of. But when I look at these, and in particular, I'm looking at Biden, who, his 12th house is Scorpio. His 4, 8, and 12 are all water signs. That's high intuition. What does Mr. Trump have? Mr. Trump is all fire in his intuitive houses, in his 4th, 8th, and 12th house. So the way that Trump is going to learn things intuitively is to get the smackdown. The way that Joe Biden is going to learn things is he just intuitively knows it. The man works on a lot of intuition. And again, I don't care if you like his politics. I actually think he's doing... Every day that goes by, I think Joe Biden puts our country at greater risk. Let me just say it that way. I think it's time. And I think it's time to have tough conversations about ageism. I think it's time to not get hung up on discrimination, but rather what's best for people. Sometimes the color of somebody's skin doesn't matter to the job that they're doing. Thank you very much, Martin Luther King. So their protective class notwithstanding, what's best for the country. I'm going to give you a hint. It's not these two guys. These two guys are actually working it out, and what we're watching is the karmatic relationship. And by the way, karma isn't good or bad. I mean, if you want to talk about a karmatic thing for Donald Trump, he instituted a law that talked about the documentation charges and legality of using documents because he was trying to go after Hillary. They never stuck, and they did a full investigation, everybody. Not to say she didn't skirt some things, but here we are. But then fast forward, all of those same things that he passed are now being held against him. That could be construed as karma. I think Joe Biden is coming to a time where, and again, when I look at his chart, I think to myself, he's done. I think to myself, he's kind of okay. He's kind of done what he's needed to do. When I look at the two of them together, there's at a minimum a karmic relationship, and it's a love-hate relationship. Ironically, Joe Biden kind of stood up for America with this and said, you know what, you can't be a brat. Mars squared, Venus squared to Mars. Then Donald Trump is kind of like, he just wants to belong. And Joe Biden is kind of a little bit of a hero to him in a weird sort of way. Astrologically, he is anyways. He's jealous about it, he's dreamy about it, and he wants what other people have. Go figure. All right, guys, I want to thank you for joining me. This isn't a very long take on it, but it's pretty deep, pretty quick. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And oh, by the way, sign up for my coaching call. Go ahead, drop me an email at brandon@spirituallyconnections.com. brandon@spirituallyconnections.com. We've got a lot of bells and whistles that are being uploaded, so just send me the email and I can get you hooked up. In the meantime, brandon@spirituallyconnections.com. Can't wait to see you guys. We're going to give the heart tap for every other indictment that's going to come through. We pray for a country that is going through its Pluto return still, and we're applying the lessons. We are applying the lessons that we've been learning all along. Let us grow. Let us be who we're supposed to be. Heart taps, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Be well.